Welcome to another Top 5 with Kris guys. Today we will be looking at the 5 best performing decks after the July nerfs in Hearthstone. In the video, you will see the best performing decks for 5 different classes, with an overview, their win rates, a mulligan guide, and if it's worth crafting them. At the end of this video, I will also give you information on the other best performing decks for other classes not featured in this video, so don't worry if your favorite deck is not amongst these top 5. I know I say this a lot, but I would really appreciate it if you drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Things have not been going too great for the channel lately, and showing some support would really help me keep on doing what I'm doing. Thank you in advance. After 5 sets of nerfs, Demon Hunter is still somehow amongst the best performing decks out there, so let's start from there. Currently, this is the best performing tempo Demon Hunter in the top 1000 legend segment, and it opts to cut 2 of the recently nerfed cards to fit in more early game aggression. We have an unpopular inclusion here in the likes of History Buff, which has a sturdy body and good synergy with the deck. The 2 Bone Chewers and Berserkers are really hard to deal with in the early game, and the support they get from the Sidekick and Dog Merchants makes it almost impossible to deal with in the early game for most popular meta decks. Usually it's smooth sailing with this deck until turn 4, but on turn 5 you will have to figure out a combination of cards, because the deck literally has no playable 5 mana cards, unless you prepare the Number Wing for the Adept. You have a really good amount of card draw in this deck, so you should have no problem getting the effect from the History Buff. The deck is still pretty new, and there are not too many games with it, but one thing's for sure: Priest and Highlander Hunter will not be bad for you. Overall, anything would be in your favor except the popular warrior matchups with Enrage and Bomb Warrior. If you manage to find a control Demon Hunter, that will also not be too fun for you. For the mulligan, you will be looking for your good 1-drops, your Bone Chewers, your Amani Berserkers, and even the Buff and Satire. Og Merchant is pretty much always a good keep as well, because you will most probably find a good target for it. And if you're expecting early board presence from your opponent, you will also be wanting to keep your Twin Slice. If Spectral is already outcasted for you on the left side, you would also might want to be keeping it. But early on, you do prefer to get your minions, so only keep it if you already have something else to play. All in all, Demon Hunter still looks pretty solid, and you can try the deck pretty much for free, since you can disenchant Kayn for its full price in the next 10 days. Ultras is already a free card, and you don't need to be crafting the Warglaives and Metamorphosis too, so the deck will cost you almost nothing if we don't account for the 2 history buffs. The version with Glaives and Metamorphosis is also doing pretty fine, but for now, the buff version takes the cake. Next up, let's talk about a class we haven't talked about in quite a while: Paladin. Right now, Murloc Paladin is considered to be tier 1 from Diamond to Legend, and it's even mid-tier 2 for the top 1000 legends, so it's a pretty solid choice. It's pretty fast and pretty scary to deal with, especially if you start popping off, which it does quite often. It runs the 2 Dormant Sun Gills, which make it incredibly easy for you to start doing your Murloc synergies. Playing one of those on turn 1 or 2, and following up on turn 3 or 4 with a Seer or Navigator, guarantees you have at least 3 Murloc targets to receive those buffs. And if you manage to stick a Tide Collar along the way, then the game shouldn't be lasting too much longer. You have Hand of Adal for a nice buff and card draw, and Murger for some late game potential too. The 2 Angling Rods make sure you don't run out of steam too early, and you're also running a Pillager to cheat out your Angling Rods or True Silvers too. The 2 Scale Lords are pretty solid in the mid game, but other than that, the whole Murloc Dragon synergy idea from the past never really worked. For the matchups, you will be having problems with Highlander Mage, Quest Warlock, Enrage and Bomb Warrior, and maybe Tempo Demon Hunter. But the rest is pretty deep in the green for you, so it's quite polarized, but overall you should be doing pretty good. For the mulligan, you always want your 1 good drops and your Rod. If you already have your 1 drops, you might want to be keeping Seer and Navigator too for turn 3 or 4. Murger is also not a bad keep since it has the Divine Shield, but it's not too great shuffling back your Prime into the deck too early, so keep that in mind. Consider your synergies and what your opponent might be throwing at you early on, and mulligan accordingly. This is another pretty cheap deck you can try out for climbing, and it requires only 1 legendary and 4 epics. Murlocs always find a way back into the meta from time to time, so crafting the core Murlocs is also not a bad idea. If you don't enjoy Murlocs, however, Pure Paladin is also pretty good right now, and it's top tier 2 from Diamond to Legend. It falls hard in top 1000 Legend though, so keep that in mind. Now, let's look at Quest Warlock. This deck has been around for quite a while, so I think it's a good time to finally review it in a top 5, since it's still doing pretty well. It's not a simple deck to pilot, and there are plenty of things you can do wrong with it, so if you master it, you should be doing really well with it. There are plenty of synergies and a lot of decision making too, so take your time to figure it out. Dark Skies is your best friend for early game aggression, and it deals with pretty much any early game board, but you can also save it for the mid game, where you can combo it with your Artificer. The Artificer can be used in plenty of ways, for the extra heal and damage on your Nether Breath, or for the extra damage from your Rain, or for your other damaging spells. It's an important tool that makes this deck tick, so make sure you figure out how you want to be using it in each matchup. The plot twists are probably the most important piece of this deck though, since those help you finish off the quests as soon as turn 5 sometimes. It's best to use them when you already have a big enough hand though, so turn 4 is probably the sweet spot. You can also use them for the extra heal from the Broodmothers, and you can also reshuffle your Alexstrasza's and your Malagos back into the deck, so you have an extra shot at drawing them for 0 mana with your new hero power. Some people are not sure what Highlander cards are doing in this deck, but it's pretty simple. You draw like mad, and usually by turn 9 you're already Highlander. Alexstrasza is a nice pressure tool that usually is enough for most opponents, and Zephrys could be a good way for you to find lethal or clear a huge board. A bad matchup for you would be Bomb Warrior, for obvious reasons. You will be drawing those bombs like there's no tomorrow, and they will be stacking mad armor in the meantime, straying further away from your possible lethal combos. Hunters can also be a problem, but other than that, it's Green City for you. For the mulligan, other than the quest, you will also want to be keeping your Questing Explorer, Plot Twist, Dark Skies, and maybe Sense Demons. Depending on the opponent, you also might want to be keeping your Mortal Coil or your Nether Breath, but other than that, usually the rest is a dump. The deck is pretty expensive, but I think it's proven itself as a force to be reckoned with. The expensive cards here are not really niche, so it shouldn't feel too bad for you to crowd them. But since the new expansion is just around the corner, you might want to be reconsidering dumping that much dust in a deck that might not be as powerful in the new expansion. Other than that, Galakrond Zoolock, regular Galakrond Warlock, and regular Zoolock are also doing pretty fine right now, but for High Legend, you would like to be going in the quest direction. Next up, let's talk about the hard counter to Quest Warlock, Bomb Warrior. To no one's surprise, the nerf didn't really affect Bomb Warrior, and it's still one of the best performing decks out there. The main goal of the deck is to shuffle a ton of bombs in your opponent's deck, while endlessly stalling the board with its arsenal of board clears and single target removals. If that wasn't enough, the deck has tools to generate tons of armor and generate tons of extra card draw, which pretty much makes it impossible to run out of things to play in hand. It makes it pretty awkward to play against, since it pretty much can deal with anything you can throw at it, as long as you drew it. Risky Skipper offers endless opportunities for board clears, card draw, armor gain, or cheating out brutes, and how you use your skippers is what makes or breaks a great Bomb Warrior. With the resources you have, you can shuffle as much as 9 bombs in your opponent's deck, but you can go even higher if you get lucky from the Sky Raider pirates. For the matchups, your only really bad one would be Priest. They will just outlast you, and there is not much you can do about it. Highlander Hunter and Highlander Mage surprisingly also have an edge over you, but overall you should be doing great. For the mulligan, you always want to have your cash, and keeping Ankar is not bad either. Sky Raider is not a bad keep too, and Quartmaster and Sword and Board are fine too. Stats show that Armorsmith is also a good keep, but you probably don't want to be playing it just as a 2-drop, but instead keep it for the risky skip combo. Keeping a Bladestorm is also not a bad idea, especially when you're going second. This is another pricey deck, but again, I think it has proven itself to be a real powerhouse. And as long as Risky Skipper, Cash, and Blood Boil Brute remain in the game, I think there will always be a tier 1 warrior deck. If you're missing Deathwing, you can swap it out for another Sword and Board, or an Execute, or whatever else you feel you're missing. Some decks also opt for Galakrond and Krunks instead of the Growmash, but it's up to you. Other than that, Enrage and Egg Warrior are still doing kinda fine, and Pirate Warrior ain't that bad either, but they're nowhere near the strength level of Bomb Warrior right now. And for the final deck in this top 5, again, I have to include Highlander Hunter. I wanted to go with just Dragon Hunter, but obviously Highlander Hunter has a very much higher win rate. This particular version is relying on very hard dragon synergies and is not opting for the secret package. We also have Frizz for some dragon mana cheating and the Worm for a reliable single target removal. The new Transfer Student also found its way in this deck and it's proving to be quite solid so far. Even though it's not exactly reliable, and now we have an extra layer of RNG where even the friggin' board matters, it would always give you the value of at least a free drop, so you should be able to find room for it in pretty much any Highlander deck. The Bone Chewer and Og Merchant are also doing a fine job in this deck, especially if you get to combo them. At 10 mana, again we have the Nagrand Slam, which can either help you win back the board or straight up finish your opponent's face. Not much else to mention here. For the matchups, Tempo Demon Hunter would be a problem, and Murloc Pally isn't too fun either, but anything else is green here. If you manage to find a Spell Druid, you will have a harder time against them, but after the nerf, most people chose to switch over to Dragon instead, and those tend to be easier. For the mulligan, you will want your early game minions, so you can curve out nicely. You have plenty of dragons here, so keeping the Stormhammer is also pretty good, but you can also opt for the Spear, so you have some help for the board state, especially when you're going second. If you're going first, the game is pretty much half won, since you can be pretty dominant from that position, so the goal here is just to curve out with a good 1-2 and free drop and take it from there. This is the most expensive deck from the bunch today, but it's definitely worth it. It has survived countless metas and it has never dropped below tier 2, so even today it's still a safe craft. You can definitely find a good deck without Frisk too if you don't wish to craft her, but the other legendaries are pretty crucial. Like I said, Dragon Hunter is also doing a fine job right now, but Highlander is clearly better. Some Face Hunters and Beast Hunters are also emerging from time to time, so those might also be interesting, cheaper alternatives for you. From the classes I didn't mention today, Spell Mage and Highlander Mage are still doing pretty good, and Totem Shaman almost made it into this top 5. The rogue archetypes are still hanging in there, much to my surprise. All of its archetypes are around mid-tier 2, so the class is pretty much still alive and kicking. Turns out Priest is not as good as most people thought it to be after the nerfs, and right now it's at the bottom of tier 2 with its Highlander version. Galakrond Priest is also somewhere in tier 2, so it's not bad, but it's not as great as expected. Spell Druid and Dragon Druid are not doing too great though, since the meta became faster and not slower, so those two are bottom tier 2 at best. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Hope this helps you find your next deck for climbing. A like and a subscribe would really be appreciated, and drop a comment too if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.